We would be happy to answer any questions, comments, and if anyone would like to join the Young Members Advisory Committee, that's also something we can chat about too.
Hi, I'm Marissa Bender from the Department of Finance.
Yep.
Thank you for your presentation. This is a really interesting idea that I think is worth exploring. We heard earlier that there are some questions about data availability for members, and I'm just wondering, first of all, if you know exactly what kind of data needs you would need in order to implement such a policy, and then second of all, if things like EC levels or TR levels and actual pay salaries are known at CAPE.
For sure. Definitely, this is in its infancy. This is something that we're going to look into. We don't have all of the information right now on what we need or whether we have that data. So it is really just a proposal to start that process of what it would look like and coming back to you folks. I don't know if you have more information.
And that's actually precisely why this resolution exists, is that we want to find out more information. We want to find out what data needs we do have. For example, one thing off the top of my head is that we want to know how many people work at each EC levels, librarian levels, translator levels across the different salary spectrums. And how that distribution looks before we can actually see, if someone asks, I'm a EC6, what would my membership dues look like? And then once we actually go through the motions and explore this and research this, we can give them an answer to that. Right, so I think that's the basic idea, is that, yes, there are a lot of these data requirements that we would like to look into, and this is exactly the reason why we should vote for this motion, is so that we can get those information and make them available for our members.
Thanks for that. Michael from Health Canada. I'm an economist. I'm a number cruncher. I sat over there while you were speaking, and I spent 30 seconds crunching a few numbers. I'd like to run them by you. You said that it would be revenue neutral. Last year we had a little over $7 million in dues. So you're proposing that you would rearrange the structure, but you would still collect the same $7 million in dues. Got a little over 13,000 employees or members who contribute. Average salary is a little over 80,000. Multiply number of members by salary, that's about $1 billion. So you want to raise $7 million from people who are currently making a salary of around $1 billion. Divide those by each other, it's 0.7%. So your proposal is that members would pay 0.7% of their salary in dues. So that's the revenue neutral progressive structure. What do we need to explore? Put that proposal out there. I mean, have a resolution. Be it resolved that members pay 0.7% of their salary in dues, and let people vote. What are we exploring?
That's an excellent question, man. Okay, so I did the similar kind of data crunching as well. I think one of the issues here is that we want to know how it would precisely impact people at the different salary levels. And there are, I think what you're referring to is the flat rates structure, right? So everyone pays this exact same rate that we, and that's one possibility as well. That's definitely, infinitely better than what we currently have, which is a flat fees structure. But that could definitely be one of those considerations. But there are other ways of looking at it as well, right? You can also say, we want to leave everyone dues the same, between, say, I'm more familiar with ECs, between 2 and 7, and just change it at the top end, right? So there are these other options as well. But the one that you propose is very interesting. I think that's what we're trying to get at, is that this is the kind of conversation we have to start. Maggie, anything to add?
Nothing to add. But thank you for the question. I think you were up first.
Yeah, sorry. So I might help with the previous question. I might say, yes, let's gather evidence on what this would mean, but mostly because I don't understand why this would occur. I don't understand what's fundamentally unfair about paying the same amount. I pay the same amount for milk. I know there's price discrimination at the movies and the occasional occurrence, but I was an FI up until 2 weeks ago. I've been a member of CAPE for all of a few hours, and then I come in saying, hey, great, I get to maybe pay more because I have more responsibility at work. So in addition to having more responsibility at work and perhaps having whatever level of pay, I also get to pay more in union fees for receiving identical services. And I know you said it's not about pay for service and what you get, but I'm still not necessarily getting more, and I don't understand how it's fair for me to necessarily pay more for the same services in this scenario. So what I'm hoping is that with an investigation, you could convince me, as I'm open to being influenced, why it's fair, and why is it fundamentally unfair to pay the same amount for everyone receiving the same service?
Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll take that one as well. I think it goes back to that misconception we're talking about. Paying union dues has never been about pay per service, right? And you can also look at it this way. It's not really like, pay per use in the sense that it's not like we go through this bridge and we pay this toll on the bridges. It's more like an insurance policy for when we do need the service, and people who earn more have also more to lose from their positions and from their place in society. So an example that we can sort of give is that the insurance policy for a big mansion, would be more than insurance policy for a one-bedroom apartment, right? So we all kind of see the fairness in that, and I think we can draw that same conclusion in parallel to what we're talking about here.
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not quite seeing it that way, so I look forward to perhaps having the opportunity to be convinced.
For sure. And just a little kind of background on where this motion came from. It's coming from, we're trying to represent a unique perspective of our members who are really early on in their careers and, who face challenges, and a lower income is something, EC1s and are starting out in the government and paying the same as, EC7s and EC6s who have a much higher income than them. So that's where the idea of fairness, that we think, they're paying the same, but they're in proportion to their income, they're not, like the people at the lower end of that spectrum are paying way more in proportion to their income than those at the higher end. So that's kind of where the idea of fairness is. But I look forward to trying to convince you if we do get a yes vote and get to present a more fulsome proposal. That would be really great. So thank you for your question.
And maybe one more thing to add is also to try to convince you is that okay? So look at it this way as well, right? So someone making $120-something thousand, well over the six-figure amount. $48 what we're currently paying is really not that much to them. But for someone who's making $48,000, less than $50,000 a year, that becomes a little bit more consequential. So that's really what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, those are judgment statements.
Yeah, of course.
So I look forward to the exploration of that.
For sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bonjour, Danielle Lévy, Bureau de la Traduction. Danielle Lévy, Bureau of Translation. Bureau of Translation, Translation Bureau rather. Okay, at the Translation Bureau in the TU group, the TR4s and TR5s are part of the management group. So to my knowledge, they don't pay union dues. Now, is the disparity so big between the lowest pay level and the highest TR3 level? It's just the level before management. Because you were talking about 109% disparity. I don't think it's really the case in the case of TR. So have you taken into account the whole pay grid up to TR5s? How did it work?
Yeah, you might be right. There might be a mistake being made because based on the assumption that the TRs, we read through the collective bargaining agreements and we saw that this is the lowest level of TR and that's the highest, and we did our percentage based on that. And I'm in EC, so I don't really. From what I understand, people, all the ECs pay union dues. All the same. So I wasn't aware of that. We can definitely change that for our deck. And we'll post it up on maybe on the website afterwards so people can have a refreshed version with the new information.
And something I would just add to that is I think, if we do get a yes vote tonight, hopefully everyone, I think a really important aspect to this proposal is to make sure that, everyone is at the table and discussing these sorts of things. We have all of the relevant information that we need to present options that are relevant to folks. So that's something that it's really good information to have, so we can look more into it for our proposal.
Puis alors, est-ce que vous pensez établir une...
Are you thinking about creating a percentage of pay? How do you see this working exactly? Would it be as a percentage of pay?
It's really, again, the proposal for a proposal is in its infancy. Like, we don't really have an idea set. We're being really open-minded with things that we're going to look, if we get a yes vote, we're going to look at how some other unions do things. PSAC has the same progressive membership due structure. We're not quite sure what it would look like yet, but that's the point of this motion tonight, is it's a proposal to look into what it would look like, really. And we want to make sure that it's done in a way that we have input from our members, and that our members give us a democratic mandate to go forward with this, because it's really important.
Okay, merci.
Thank you.
I see.
Hi, Durham Petrie. I am from the Office of the Commission of Lobbying. I just want to congratulate you guys for bringing this proposal. One of the things that first bugged me about CAPE when I started was the flat due structure. I think it's indicative of, a mistaken lack of solidarity that a lot of us, a lot of the members in CAPE feel with our members, and often in many ways like other people in the union movement. So I think this, to me, is a no-brainer. Exploring this and looking into it is a way, I think, for everybody else to essentially show some solidarity with at least the newer members in our union who actually do make a lot less money than some of the older ones. So kudos.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As a local president, I will probably I get lots of questions about anything the national office usually does. And one of the questions that I'll probably get about this is the fact that CAPE has the lowest union dues of any public service union. Yet, as a professional union, we make, by and large, a lot more money than, let's say, CRs, PSAC. And routinely, I hear from the PSAC members that become ECs is that they're happy that their dues went down. So it's going to be difficult to respond to people as to why it's necessary when EC salaries are so much more higher than CR salaries are, yet our dues are lower, why they should be even lower then. So they're going to be going, well, we already have the lowest dues, why should the ECs who will be, getting so much higher salary than our PSAC brothers and sisters, why they need a break when PSAC is able to, young PSAC members able to pay their dues, why can't our young members pay our dues, which are already the lowest?
Mm-hmm. And I think, to my knowledge, PSAC does have a progressive membership due structure. Yeah.
They do, but at the low rate that's still higher than ours.
Yeah, for sure. So again, this is a proposal for CAPE. It's something that we think it's something that we think is important for our union to support young workers, and it will be very case specific. And I want it to be based on our own context. And I think it goes back to that idea of solidarity with our younger workers. And at our department, we're hiring a whole bunch of new ECs, and I think it would be really cool to introduce them to the department, introduce them to CAPE, and say to them, you know what, your union supports young workers. We're looking into this. We want to make it easier for you. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a really great, awesome thing. And I hope that, you folks think that as well. I hope that answers your question to some point.
Claude Poirier from Moncton, Translation Bureau. I would agree that we should support this motion. We should explore or examine our due structure, but when you present the results of your analysis based on your research, I'd like to know what other unions are doing. You've given a partial answer to that. I'm not sure which union you mentioned, but the Alliance, the PSAC, that's right. I'd like to know what other unions have done with this, really. If we're not creating a precedent, well, that's fine. But I'd like to know what other unions are doing, really, before we decide on anything. But I'd be completely in favor of your current motion.
See?
Hi, Neil Burren from Cape National and local ESDC. I also wanted to echo some of the comments that were made by Doran concerning the importance of this as something that demonstrates solidarity with our younger members. And I think it's no secret that CAPE and most unions in general haven't done a great job taking into consideration the issues that are associated with young workers in particular. We know that young people are coming into the union under much more precarious arrangements, term contracts, and so on. So this to me is a fairly important symbolic and substantive gesture. And I would applaud you in particular for putting it forward in this kind of a format where we get to discuss this before you actually go ahead and do the research, so you can sort of use us as a sounding board and see what some of our concerns are. So thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure if I can do this, but I'd like to call for the vote, please. There's no vote? There's no vote? Is that what you're saying? Well, the vote is currently in your mailbox because it's the ballot that everyone's receiving. Everybody can vote. If you've already voted, that's fine. Too bad, too sad. If you haven't yet voted, please use tonight to inform yourself, and then you can go and get your ballot, which was sent to you on the 10th of November, and you have up to the 1st of December to vote, as do all members of CAPE. By the way, all members of CAPE are invited to vote on this motion. Thank you very much. Well, it's important to say the following. The AGM is not sovereign. No decision is taken at our AGM. This is one thing which, in my opinion, should be changed, because an AGM should be at least able to say, well, Michael said, why don't you just ask the question? Put the question. But we can't do that at our AGM because the motion that was put forward, that was tabled, is a motion to explore this option, and that'll bring about a second vote. That's the way it works. That's fine. That's the way we're able to promote dialogue on these issues. There are 3 people at the mics. We have 4 minutes left, so perhaps you can ask your questions concisely.
Kathy Bennett, and this is my first CAPE meeting. So I'm a new member to CAPE, so thank you. But for the last 25 years, I've been a member of PSAC. So I've been out on the strike line a number of times as we've called for our strikes. And, we have higher dues. And it was one of the first things I noticed when I switched over to your union, was just how low those dues are and given the services. And I know it's not about fee-for-service, but just as a comparison, the point that I want to make is I support the resolution that you've put forward. I think it's, for all the reasons that have been said here, extremely important for us to look at that issue and to look at the new folks that are coming into the public service. And I think that this is a really healthy and progressive way for a union to proceed. So I just want to give you my support for the resolution to explore this a bit further.
Awesome. Thank
you very much.
I guess my next commentary is more of a suggestion that we stay away from talking about youth and new members, because there are some career EC2s and career EC1s and who are very happy in their position. So to say that they're young or new or anything else is doing them a bit of a disservice.
For sure. Thank you for the suggestion.
Excellent point.
Desmond Fisher, translator. Just a quick comment. I was actually surprised when I joined the union 5 years ago, when I was hired to the government, that it wasn't a progressive dues structure already, because we've had progressive taxation since at least the 1950s, and it is really pure and simple an issue of fairness, because proportional to income is how we should be thinking about everything, proportional to our ability to pay. So the idea is that the burden is equal on every member. So this is, the way we do our tax system, and it should be the way we do this system as well. And thank you very much for putting this forward.
Thank you for your support.
Awesome. So I think question period's over? Yes. Okay, cool. We survived. Awesome. Thank you so much for your questions and comments, and hopefully we can get a yes vote on this and come back to you with some really great proposals and options. So thank you so much.